If you struggle within, if you're suffering from feeling invisible and irrelevant, I'm talking to you then. For many years, it was kind of a pet peeve of mine when people would say, "Oh, I know how you feel," you know, like especially if you were grieving the death of a loved one or something like that, and they would say, "Oh, I know how you feel." And of course, at the root of it, they mean well by saying that, but it's not very well thought out, because no, you don't. You don't know how I feel. You might be able to imagine how you would feel in a similar situation, but you don't know how I feel. Any two people can only share an event, but not an experience. In other words, if the same thing happens to two different people, they are not having the same experience. They are simply sharing the same event. And so in that sense, no, you don't know how I feel, but I know that you mean well by that. And sometimes when people greet us, they say, "Hi, how you doing?" Hey, already you're starting with that? So maybe it's better to say, "Hey, it's good to see you." There's no obligation for me to dodge anything or reveal anything that maybe I'd prefer to keep to myself. Thank you. It's good to see you. Thank you. But what society generally tends to do, and yes, I will say definitely more to men than to women, but certainly not excluding anyone. But if you are a man, you are very, very much more likely to be experiencing this than if you are a woman. If you are older, you are very much more likely to be experiencing this than if you are younger. And if you are not the top 1% most gorgeous specimen in your gender and your species, then you also fall into the category of you either are experiencing this, have experienced it, or very soon will be. Because society as a whole tends to be shallow and vain and superficial, and especially, well, you know, you say Western society, but today that just means modern society, because the East has completely shifted as well. But youth and beauty are worshipped and revered, especially in females. So as far as like social capital, if you want to think of it in that terms, your social worth, the highest social worth according to society's view of people that you could possibly be is a young, beautiful female. So if you're not that, you're below that according to the way society in general tends to see us, to see ourselves. And I very much can empathize with older men, because as I grow older, I can relate more and more deeply and authentically to the experience of feeling, or even de facto being treated as, if you are invisible. You don't even exist, and P.S., you don't matter anyway. And society blares that message to men, also to women, especially women as they get older. But men, by the time women start feeling it, men are veterans of it. The men who are viewing know what I'm talking about very well, I'm sure. Now, I'm not here to say, I have a solution for this. I have the answer. I've got it all figured out. I don't. And you know what I've come to realize as I grow older? I do not believe that some problems have solutions per se. They just have ways of being managed, dealt with, handled, I don't want to say coped with, but some problems can't be fixed. And so you have to fix the way you deal with them within yourself to the best of your ability, whatever that is. And that's different for every person. What I can say, we're obviously talking about loneliness and depression as more specific points, the general points being that we are made to feel invisible and irrelevant. We don't matter. We feel unheard, unseen, all of that. If you go through life focusing on yourself, you're going to be miserable. If you focus on yourself, you're going to be miserable. I didn't mean that as if you neglect yourself, you'll be in bliss. I don't mean it that way. I just mean that if the laser beam of your attention is constantly on you, you're going to get miserable. You're going to be sick of it. And it's not going to lead to happiness for you. So instead of focusing, of course, cultivate and take care of yourself in every way that you possibly can, holistically, mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, what you eat, what you think, what you take in, what you ingest into your consciousness, as well as what you ingest into your body, everything. And also, guard your thoughts, or the thoughts that come to you, should I say, because I don't believe a lot of them are even ours. We just receive them. They're out in the ethers, and you can either accept it or reject it. So what I have found is focus a lot on others. Now, who are others? Whoever you choose, okay? Could be somebody that you love and care for who could use your companionship. Could be somebody else who you know is struggling or suffering. And very specifically, why not somebody who you know is also experiencing depression and loneliness and feeling invisible and irrelevant? Why not go and offer your presence and companionship to them? Because I can tell you this, although I'm offering no fixes and solutions here, I am offering some things that help. I have found in life that we heal best when we help others to heal. And we can best help others to heal from the things that we have experienced and suffered from as well. What you know is what you're able to most relate to and empathize with, and therefore offer understanding and some help. Even if you're not there to fix them, because you can't fix them. We can't fix others. We can only love, pray, and serve. So this is a way to serve, and everything that we do selflessly, freely and willingly, and as joyfully as possible for others bounces back and benefits us, as I've mentioned before. So don't focus on yourself too much. It's not good to turn the microscope inward on your own self is not healthy. Once in a while for self-examination and assessment, of course, but you understand what I mean. And turn your attention instead toward small ways of helping others who you can relate directly to. In other words, those who are going through the similar kind of thing that you're going through, okay? And maybe it's one person. And if you can't deal with people, there are animals in infinite numbers that need love and care. And you can focus on them. All life is priceless and precious and sacred, okay? Sometimes people are too much to deal with. Animals are a joy. Even when they're a nuisance and a pain, they're still a joy. So another thing that I can tell you is, instead of focusing on yourself and all that, don't live in your head. Don't live in your head. Do not let your intellect, your mind, your thoughts, your thinking, don't live from there. To be brutally metaphorical here. Live from here. This is your Christ consciousness, your Buddha nature. Live from here. Live from, you could say, live from the core, live from the heart. This is where you are. This is your Christ nature. This is Antichrist. When the mind, when the thoughts and the stinking thinking and all that, and the analytical examining and categorizing and what else, what if, all that mind junk, if that is sitting on the throne of your being and ruling you, you're not doing well. And also, modern culture loves to reward people who live that way. All of the awards and trophies and accolades go to people who seem to function from here, okay, rather than those who are living from here, okay? Now, another thing that I can recommend, and again, some of this might sound a little bit cynical or whatever, but I'm being very realistic, and as you know, I don't do cotton candy, fluffy stuff. I speak very directly. Don't expect anything from people. Don't expect anything from people. If your expectations are unrealistic, and unrealistic starts about here, by the way. If they're unrealistic, it will just constantly set you up like Lucy and Charlie Brown with the football. It will just constantly set you up for disappointment, which over a not long amount of time will turn to frustration, which then turns to resentment and anger and even hatred, okay? And, if you look at the news, there's a lot of things you could point to as to, I'm not trying to be bitter here, but there's a lot of things you could point to and say, you see why I hate people? Do you see why I hate people? Look at that, look at this, look what this one just did. Did you hear what they just did there? Did you see this? You can find tons of reasons to hate people if you want. And I'm not even saying it's unjustified or not able to be understood. But what I am saying is that if you fall into that, and it can happen, it can sneak up on you. It can sneak up on you with little subtle thoughts that pile up and shape the way you think, which then colors your soul. It will contaminate you, and it will eat you alive, and it will destroy you. I'm talking about hatred. Of course, you can think of lots of reasons. You can present lots of reasons why, this is why I just hate people. Okay, totally get it. Really do. But whether you're a misanthropic curmudgeon or a curmudgeonly misanthrope, it's not going to do you personally any good at all. It's not going to do any good for anything. It's not going to fix anything. It's not going to heal anything. It's not going to help you get by. It's not going to serve you at all. It is absolute toxic poison, even if you can justify it. And if you're the kind of person that's stubbornly holding on to, but still, look what this guy did. Look what this group did. Look what happened over here. If you get hung up on that, you won't be able to transcend the tendency towards hatred, and hatred will destroy you. So don't carry it. Now, how do you love everyone? Well, by becoming or returning to becoming the pure divine love that you are. Referencing the Christ again, he said, love one another as I have loved you. He never said you have to like them. He never said you have to like everyone the same way I liked you. That was never said. He said love. In other words, be unconditional, pure love to all. Regardless, doesn't matter their stuff, doesn't matter. You be this pure divine love. If you're going to base whether you love people or not, individually on their merit or what they've done or failed to do, or it's impossible. You'll never get there. You'll completely deplete yourself and drive yourself nuts. But if you simply be love, just be love to all, to the best of your ability, consistently, pick up and try again when you fail. Just be love to all. Then you are loving one another as I have loved you. Okay? The other thing I want to say is regarding suffering, try to find meaning in your suffering. Try to find meaningfulness in the basis of why you are suffering. I am suffering because of this. I am suffering for this reason. I am suffering for this sake. Now, I am not saying to take on a martyr syndrome. No, definitely not. I'm just saying if you are facing unavoidable suffering in your life from something that happened to you, a health ailment, a loss of someone, whatever it is, millions of examples, if you are suffering, try to use that as a means of purifying and edifying and elevating your being. And in doing so, you are recognizing or even projecting onto this suffering a deep sense of meaning and even purpose. As Jalaluddin Rumi said, grief can be the garden of compassion if your heart is open through the process. Grief is grief. But grief has sweet fruit if you cultivate through the grief properly. So try to recognize or find, or if necessary, project meaning onto your suffering. And the last thing, which kind of fits in with the first thing of not focusing on yourself and focusing on others, is serve. Serve others. As I've mentioned in another video about forgetting yourself, when you forget yourself and lose your self, small s self, it is then that your true natural essence and nature returns, which is calm, blissful awareness, calm, peaceful awareness. Those are the things I have to offer you. And I understand that so many people are feeling absolutely invisible and irrelevant. They are agonizing with loneliness and depression. I understand. And as much as I used to not like the expression, I will say that I have earned the right to say that I know how you feel. To the best of my ability, I do know how you feel. And in your suffering, you are not the only one. Millions. I will not say you're not alone, but I will say you're not the only one, because I understand how alone it can feel. And it sounds like a platitude when you're in that darkness and that despair. But you're not the only one. You're one of millions who are suffering from this. Offer what you can to someone else beside you who is also suffering from this. And expect nothing from people, including responses and reactions. And don't focus on you and your suffering per se, but focus on others and being beside them in their suffering, especially when it is simply just your presence and your silent companionship beside them, holding their hand, so to speak, or maybe literally. And watch how inadvertently you will also begin to feel more and more healed as well. And to reiterate, I don't believe that every problem has a solution, and I don't think that there's a quick, easy fix for this. And also, I will add that I'm very tired of hearing people say that when you're lonely, it just means that you miss yourself and you're disconnected from yourself. Okay, I get it. I understand that. I did a whole video on disconnection a long time ago. But it's a reality of life. It does happen, and I don't care who you are, it happens. And for a lot of us, it almost never ends. It is the norm. And to you, I offer my empathy and my compassion, and I sit beside you in your darkness, feeling what you feel.